what's it, Fox Gaming here. So I've got a bit of an unusual build video for you today. This build is designed to help you improve your aim. Just before we get into that though, I do just want to get some opinions on a couple of future videos. So if you look here, my clan was able to get a pretty good raid time. We're now 60th on the leaderboards with 46 minutes, and that was bringing in a couple of people from the clan that had completed it. Well, by this run it was their second or first completion, and somebody from LFG. So we've got some good strats down, some good builds. If you are interested in seeing the builds that we use and some of the strats, please let me know in the comments. I don't mind doing a video that goes through some basic builds if you're looking to get into Iron Horse. So you know, if you want to be in a situation where you want to group up with some people and do Iron Horse for the first time, but you want to feel like you can contribute as much as possible, I will release a video with some basic builds to bring in, you know, some weapons that I would go as far as to say are a must. You can be quite flexible with the new raid because it's definitely easier than Dark Hours. If you also want to see a stream of one of our runs as well, I'll upload that. So let me know in the comments what you would like to see around the Iron Horse raid, and I'll be happy to release that for you all. So what I've done today is come up with a build that is designed to improve your aim, and when you do get your aim down, this is designed to actually hit so hard that you will out DPS the majority of builds out there at the moment. I was inspired by a lot of the people that use, I've noticed quite a popular build at the moment is a 1 to 2 blue build, so quite high red basically, quite high damage, utilising Eagle Bearer, Unbreakable for the survivability and Vigilance for the raw damage, and those people will sit in the back and melt people down, and that's a really nice build. I wanted to do something similar myself, but you know, it's a pretty simple build, don't get me wrong, it's just reliable, simple, and gives you a great amount of damage. So my build is designed to encourage you to land your headshots, and then if you can get that down, this build will absolutely tear through anybody. Because headshot is classed as base damage, your critical hit chance and damage are on top of that, and obviously headshots hit harder than body shots, so in theory having this build will make you hit super hard compared to a lot of other builds. Before I go into the build itself, I will quickly show you, just because I've had a few requests, some of my settings. I'm not going to go into great detail here. What I would actually encourage that you do is search Nothing But Skills with a Z at the end on YouTube. He's done a couple of settings videos, and you know, his original one back in 2019 was the one that I used, and have gone from there. So I'm not going to go into all of my settings in great detail, but yeah, this video is part how to improve your aim and part the build that will almost force you to land headshots. So it might be a little bit difficult to use at first if your aim isn't where you want it to be, but it will absolutely force you to land those headshots, and when you start getting that down, you will have a much better time. And this build, actually, I might even just use this because it is fantastic. So I have my camera sensitivity set to 20. This doesn't impact your aim down sights aim whatsoever, but I feel that it is really important to be able to turn your camera quickly. The one time this isn't great is if you get set on fire and all of a sudden you can't aim down sights, and if you're not used to it, you'll be flicking left and right a bit more aggressively than normal. You'll be overshooting essentially. But being set on fire, you want to disengage from combat anyway. You know, you never want to try and sort of gun somebody down if you're on fire, because you have to hit fire unless they are, you know, you've got plenty of health and they're pretty much dead to rights. But 100% for everybody, you want your camera sensitivity to be at 20. So when you dodge roll, you can 180 quickly, you can flick around. And then when you zoom in, this is the setting that you want to base around your own personal preference. I run at 10, so sort of right in the middle. I've done everything from 7 right up to 20. I've run 20 for the longest, but I don't feel that you need that higher sensitivity in this game. And it is important to land headshots because headshots do more damage than body shots. And as I said before, your critical hit damage is based on that base damage. So obviously you just crit harder if you're hitting headshots. So I would choose a sensitivity that you can consistently land headshots without overshooting or undershooting. And that's easy enough to test. You can test it in the firing line or against another player. You know, just sort of look maybe 90 degrees to the right of the dummy in the firing range, or another player, and then sort of snap onto them and see if you overshoot or undershoot and base it on that. Before you choose the aim sensitivity setting, I would highly encourage that you set your right stick dead zone, this is obviously for console, to 0. You know, this is something that Nothing But Skills mentioned over a year ago now, and ever since I've changed this, my aim has improved significantly. I don't know what it is with the dead zone settings for this game, but I definitely prefer them on 0. Now, if you have a stick with a bit of drift, you may want to put this on 1. 0 and 1 are pretty much the same, The default setting is actually 6, I think. This is too high. So if you can, put it down to 0 or 1. You will notice immediately after doing this that you might start overshooting a bit more because quite simply your right analog stick will become more responsive. So what you want to do is change this to 0. I have the left stick to 0 as well because, you know, I just want that faster input, but this one is irrelevant. The right stick, change to 0. The camera sensitivity, change to 20. And then practice your aim, because you may need to lower your aim sensitivity once changing your dead zone to 0. So you might start at, you know, like 5, for example. There's no right answer here. This is the one that's flexible. The two things that you definitely want to keep are that at 20 and your dead zone at 0 or 1 if you have a bit of drift. And then just base this off of that. You might want to start low and slowly increase your way up. And if you want to go as high as 20, you can. But this one setting here is the one that I can't tell you the best in slot. You just have to pick which one works for you. Scoped is exactly the same. So, you know, you want to practice sort of aiming in with a sniper scope's an 8x scope, for example, or a 12 times, and just see if you overshoot or undershoot. If you're overshooting, so if you're flicking past their head and then having to draw back into the middle, then you need to lower this. I like this to be quite low personally because, you know, as a sniper, you're not normally sort of looking around the entire map. You're focusing one specific area, and having that lower sensitivity for me just makes more sense. The only other setting that I'm going to go through today that helps me a lot in my games is the bottom one here. So many people leave this on the default, including a couple of my clanmates, and I notice this all the time in conflict against my opposition. They will dodge roll to get out of the way of my gunfire and end up sticking to cover, and you know that kills them. That absolutely will kill you. So 100% you need to turn this on to yes. What this means is you can't just press A next to cover, which happens if you're spamming dodge roll to get out. You'll just snap into cover. You need to hold A down for like half a second. Yes, it takes maybe a couple of days to get used to, but I promise you, once you get used to it, that this is the better setting, because it will stop you from, exactly as the text says right there actually, avoids being sucked into cover when rolling. This is crucial in conflict and dark zone, in my opinion. You know, I always know when somebody doesn't have this setting on, and I always kill them. So from that experience alone, yes, absolutely, you want to have this set to yes. So enter cover and long press yes. This is all within the control settings. Dead zone set to 0 for right analog stick, or possibly 1. Camera sensitivity on 20, and then once you've done all of that, play around with your aim sensitivity and see where you're comfortable, and set that based on the other settings. Right, onto the build. So this is my Eagle Bearer headshot build. So as I say, this was originally inspired from the Vigilance build, but what I wanted to do is have a build that forces me to use headshots and rewards me for doing so, whilst not so much punishing me for not doing so, because there's a large amount of reds on this build. You know, at the end of the day, you're still going to hit pretty hard, but if you land your headshots with this, I promise you will outgun pretty much anybody. If you don't have Eagle Bearer, try and use a weapon that has headshot damage as its attribute. It's not the end of the world if you don't. A lot of people will say that damage to targets out of cover is better, but the reason that Eagle Bearer is really good here is because this is another weapon that very much rewards you for landing your headshots. No, it doesn't have a damage talent like InSync or anything like that, but Eagle Bearer's base damage was buffed anyway, and it has 60 in the mag, so it is a fantastic weapon and still one of the best ARs in the game. And its its Eagle Bearer, Eagle Strike talent, or specifically tenacity, is very good for landing headshots. So headshot kills grant the tenacity buff for 15 seconds. The strength of tenacity is increased by 1% for body shots and 5% for headshots. So what that essentially means is once you've got that headshot kill, if you continue to land body and headshots, you'll essentially reduce the amount of damage you take by 40 to 80%. You can actually remove all of that just by getting 3 kills as well. So you can just land more headshots and body shots after the first kill, and then up to 80% of your damage will be delayed. So you can essentially tank a lot of damage. If there's nobody else around to kill, you can just swap off of Eagle Bearer before the buff expires, and it will cancel the incoming damage that you take at the end. Or if you simply get 3 kills, I think it's 3, might be less in PvP, yeah, 3 kills, then it just removes all of the damage. So it's a really nice way to be a little bit more tanky, whilst, you know, with a high red build in conflict. Like I say, you could use a different AR. You definitely want to use an assault rifle for this for sure. Just use one that you're comfortable with, but my recommendation is the Eagle Bearer, because it rewards you for headshots and it has very high base headshot damage. So the build itself, what we've essentially done is gone for 3 Grupo Sombra, because that gives us headshot damage as the third piece. We also get critical hit damage in there as well, which is really nice. So I have that set to my mask, my chest, and my holster. You may want to consider doing this a bit differently. I would actually recommend using the other pieces as the mask headshot, the mask, backpack and chest, because Grupo gives you a yellow mod slot, which isn't ideal. This one I was lucky enough to re-roll, so if I could do this a little bit different, I would have the two Airaldi as the mask and the chest. But this is a build that I've just thrown together, and I tested this in one game, and oh boy did it hit hard. So yeah, that's the 3 Grupo, because of course we want to spec into headshot damage here. We've gone for 2 Airaldi because they give us, for the second piece, the 15% headshot damage. And we've gone for the 1 Providence because, again, that gives us 15% headshot damage. Every piece, if you can, you want to spec into a variation of things. So you're not really that limited with this build. This is here just to train your aim and reward you when you do then get your aim down to a level where you can land headshots. You can have, as you can see here, weapon handling. You can have headshot damage. You can have critical hit chance and damage. Ideally, you want your critical hit chance to be as close to 60% as possible, and then once it is there, I would just, any combination of maybe a little bit of weapon handling, but more importantly would probably be critical hit damage and headshot damage. So none of these pieces are god rolled here by any means. None of them are like amazing. You see this has got chance and headshot damage. I would encourage having the 1 blue in there, or possibly 2. I mean, I was actually originally going to build this with 0 blues, but this Grupo was already rolled to blue, and I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to leave the 1 on there just to see how it performs, and I felt that this works really well. At the moment, we're in a bit of an in-sync shield meta, and when people pop their shield, they do strafe more slowly, and it is therefore more easy to land headshots. So in those situations, this build absolutely excels, but I wanted to test it with people just running around as well. So that's the basic build: 2 Airaldi, 1 Providence, 3 Grupo. If you can, try and get the Providence and the 2 Airaldi as the backpack, mask and chest, so that you have red mod slots across the board, and that will ensure that your critical hit chance and damage are just better, because of course you can put the red mods on there. If you go over to my stats, you will see that I'm at 57.3% critical hit chance. I'm at 108 critical hit damage, but my headshot damage is quite a fair bit higher than a lot of other AR builds. Most AR builds you'll see this at around about 80 to 90%. And because headshot damage is classed as base damage, the critical hit damage is on top of that. So in a way, having low critical hit damage with this build isn't bad, because you're critting off of headshots which hit harder, and therefore the critical hit damage will be higher as well. So yeah, it's not the end of the world if your critical hit damage is low. Just try and focus on as much headshot damage as possible with these 3 brand sets. For my skills, I'm just using 2 that essentially keep me out of trouble. I don't want to use a defender drone or anything like that, because if I get caught in a 1v1 where I'm unawares, so somebody sort of catches me off guard, a defender drone isn't going to save me. So the decoy is really good for that, because you can dodge roll and deploy your decoy, and then that sort of deploys mid dodge roll, which is really useful. And then, whoops, your shield is just for your 1v1s, so I like using a shield with this build. I did opt to go for sharpshooter, and yes, you're probably thinking, well Fox, why don't you just go for a rifle? Because with the sharpshooter tree, if you go up to the top here, 15% increased headshot damage with rifles and marksman rifles. So you're thinking, well, why don't you just go for like a rifle and then just put on Headhunter as your talent instead of Unbreakable? And that's not a bad shout, but rifles and sniper rifles aren't that great in conflict at the moment. I feel that Massive have too aggressively nerfed them, and I didn't want this to be that kind of build where I just sit back and land headshots with a sniper, because I don't feel that helps to improve your aim. I mean, obviously it does help to improve your aim, but what I'm talking about here is 1v1s. I'm talking about getting in the fight and being able to consistently land headshots under pressure. And if you're with a good team and you play a sniper where you're sitting really far back and you're not really under any gunfire, you're not under pressure, or at least you're under less pressure, and therefore more likely to land your headshots. This is entirely designed to be in the fight and still consistently landing headshots. There are some useful talents here, so for example the 15% stability is really good for this build as well, and that's kind of the main reason that I've gone for it. And also the armor kits do give you, not only do they clear, bleed and burn, which will kill you on this build, but they make you resistant to it. Another thing that I've done with the talents, I did decide to go for Unbreakable on the chest, because that just gives me that get out of jail free card, but I opted to go for Concussion on my backpack. Concussion is very underrated. You may remember me using this in my previous headshot build with Eagle Bearer, where I utilised the 3-piece striker. I know we're loading into a game now, but Concussion essentially gives you 10% headshot damage for 1.5 seconds when you land a headshot, and if you then get a kill, as a headshot, it gives you 15% weapon damage. They do stack with each other, so you actually end up with 25% headshot damage if you get a kill with a headshot and continue shooting into somebody else's head, including the person that you've just downed. So 10% just for landing the headshots, 15% for the headshot kill, and yes, they do stack. The 15% lasts for 10 seconds, but just landing headshots for the 10% is only 1.5 seconds. But that's fine because we are using an automatic weapon. We are continually firing into their head. So concussion is absolutely the best talent to use here because, again, vigilance gives you 25% overall. But we don't want to be going for body shots. This build is designed to improve your aim by forcing you to land those headshots. And it won't so much punish you for not landing them, but you will notice a big difference in damage. Yes, this might mean that for the first, I don't know, maybe week or so, you're going to have some rough games. But the purpose of this video, and the reason that a lot of you may be watching it, is because you're looking to improve your aim. And, you know, maybe already your win-loss ratio isn't amazing, and you're looking to improve that. Or maybe your KD is a bit lower than you'd like it to be. So taking a bit more of a hit on that for a week to train yourself with this build, to ultimately be able to land consistent headshots, is 100% worth it. And I used to run a headshot build, which is one of my original videos actually, and honestly it really helped me. This is going a bit hard into it, but I promise you, when you get this down, this build, it hits hard. Yeah, it doesn't so much punish you for missing headshots, but oh boy does it reward you for landing them. So I'm going to play aggressive with this because I've won, in the one game that I tested this, I won quite a lot of 1v1s that I shouldn't have done. Just because I was doing so much damage by consistently hitting their heads. Where are these guys? So, yeah, this isn't a meta build or anything like that. I'm actually going to go around this side. Yes, this isn't a meta build or anything like that. That's not the point of this build. This is just... There you go, look at that. And now I've got the tenacity buff, so I can afford to play a bit more aggressive. What is hitting me? Oh, there's a turret there. Ah, I didn't even... I thought that turret was going to die when I killed the guy up top, but I guess that was somebody else. Okay, that was stupid.
An agent needs assistance.
I thought as soon as I killed that guy at the top, that turret was going to die, but I suppose he probably wasn't down, was he? So... No, he's not. He's still up because they're on 16, so they must have rezzed him, or his body's still there. Ah, that's a shame. I didn't think about that. Oh, bit of rubber band in there. Yeah, so, you know, if you are looking to improve your aim and you try this build out, yes, you might struggle at the start, but that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't sort of get the best results without a difficult journey, and, you know, that is sort of why I come up with this. Come on, stick your head up. Let's get the Duke out to take some heat off of me. Shoot this turret out, actually. So there's the concussion buff for 1.5 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to do a side flank here. No, I'm not going to get the boost first.
Allies are acquiring the boost. The boost has been taken by allies.
Stop running away! Oh, someone to my left. To my right even. Oh, I didn't even see him. Wow, these guys are really passive, like sat right towards their spawn and with a healer.
Rogue restore hive detected.
I can't believe these guys are actually playing in spawn. That's crazy. What's that all about? Ugh, that always makes for a terrible game when everybody just sits back like that.
An agent needs assistance.
Where did this guy just die from?
Assault turret detected. Serious trauma detected.
I suppose I didn't have a team there with me, so that's probably a silly push.
Agent vital signs.
I'm not a fan of these games where people just sit back like right towards their spawn. It makes for a very dull game. A very dull game. So I've got to play a little bit less aggressive now because I can see there that my Unbreakable has procs and I don't have that to fall back on. That's when you really want to be engaging. Yes, it's a 60-second cooldown, so you know that might feel like you're out of the fight a lot of the time, but all that means is you've got to play backline instead of frontline until it comes back up again.
I'm sending you a specialization supply drop.
There you go, that's the sort of map we're talking about. And again. There we go, 3 headshots in a row. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Once you get that down, you will clear a team. So, you know, this is why I like to give you guys the full footage, because you can see the mistakes I make and how badly the builds can perform, but when played right, how well they perform. And that was just an instant 3-man wipe there. Maybe I raise you there, buddy. You're going to have to pull back.
System curtailed. System reactivated. Load restore hive detected.
Oh, I didn't finish as a headshot. That's a shame.
Rogue seeker mine detected. Vital signs critical.
Let's get the decoy out. Get healed up and go back in. So I'm curious to see what my damage stats will be like at the end of this, actually. Oh, we've spawned behind them.
Agent down.
The enemy is claiming the supply drop. Fight is halfway done. The specialization supply drop has fallen into enemy hands.
Was there another guy here? I swear there was. So when I'm glowing red, that means you've got the tenacity buff there, which means that essentially your incoming damage is reduced. But just bear in mind, if you have taken a lot of damage and not got the kill, just switch off of your Eagle Bearer towards the end of that 10-second window, which can be hard. I think it tells you on the side of the gun, actually, when you've got that on. Yeah, because you've got the accuracy at the moment. Sorry, how much tenacity is saving you at the moment. 40% up to 80. But I think that changes to a 10-second countdown timer when you've actually got the buff until you start shooting again. I'm not 100%, but either way, when you glow in red, if you're taking a lot of damage and you haven't taken the kill, just remember to switch off the weapon when you're safe within that 10-second window. Right, let's see if we can catch these guys. We have taken the lead, which is nice. Anybody hiding over here? Yes. 2 of them. Thank you for pulsing them. Stick your head up. Go on. Oh, that was a mistake. Now I'm going to play a bit more aggressively. Another kill. Go back into the mix. That's my tenacity kicking in there. Or running out, should I say. Nice kill. That was a good flank from my teammate. Yeah, so as you can see, when you can consistently land those headshots, and this is very strong against people using shields, which is quite popular at the moment, they can't strafe, because obviously when you're moving around like this, you know, it's very easy, and even when you're sort of firing, it's very easy to strafe, but when you've got that shield up, you can't sprint, you sort of move a lot slower, and you turn slower, and it's just, you know, it's not as effective, so that's where this build is really strong. What I want to see is people using this build to improve their aim, but also people that feel they have very good headshot accuracy to try this out as well, because it's actually really good fun. And all it makes you do is just think about landing those headshots. Oh, that was a lot of big damage. Woohoo! Let's get the old medkit off there. Oh, you can see through that gap? I didn't know that. Damn, that damage. Yeah, we're up against a very passive team here. I was hoping this game would be a little bit more sort of fast-paced and aggressive, because one, that's how conflict should be played anyway. I'm not a fan of this all sitting back. But two, it just gives me more of a chance to mess up and succeed with the build. Uh-oh, this is where I die. Nope. I didn't have a team there with me and they all rushed me for some reason. That's a shame. I should have pulled back a bit sooner than that, really.
Serious trauma detected.
Now obviously when you use this build to sort of get your headshot accuracy down, it doesn't mean that you need to go for headshots 100% of the time. In that situation there where he was flanking hard left and right, you want to go for body shots because you will land more. But as I said before, the purpose of this build is to take some hits on your KD, to take some hits on your accuracy, to take some hits on your win-loss ratio, in order to ultimately improve all of those things past where your current limits are. Because once you can land headshots in difficult situations, you can land them, well, all of the time, and then you can go back to more of a traditional build. But yeah, honestly, my original version of this build really improved my aim. Those hills are really helping them out there. My Unbreakable proc. Let's get a blind on the go here.
System reactivated.
Can they see me there? This will take off the... Ow, that burn is hurting. Stop setting me on fire, everybody! There's the headshot kill. There we go. Yeah, so, I'm going to leave all of this footage in sort of unedited for you all, because I do want you to see where the build struggles and where it excels. But like I said before, this isn't a meta build or anything like that. This is purely there to help you all out. I appreciate this is very different, so please go easy on the dislikes there. But honestly, try it out. It is good fun to play, and you just got to go into each game not expecting to win and get loads of kills, but just thinking, okay, I'm going to improve my aim just a little bit this game, and the next game, and the next game. And if you play this for the first 2 or 3 games, say you're coming onto conflict for the day and you want to play, I don't know, a dozen games, and you play this build for the first 1 or 2 games of each game, I promise you that the rest of your games will be better. Honestly, I can pretty much guarantee it. So I finished on 8 kills there, 3 deaths and 1 assist with 46 million damage. Looks like our second guy had a fantastic game there as well with only 1 death. So, I like this build. Obviously you can see it hits hard. That's a good enough KD there. I'm happy with that. Try it out for yourself. Be brutally honest with me in the comments. Let me know what you think to it. I know it is different, and I know that it's going to stress you out to play, because it did me when I first started doing it. But you just got to go in with that positive outlook and just understand the purpose of the build and why it's there. And once you've tweaked your settings and got used to it and started to get this build down, when you go back to your more traditional builds, all of a sudden they will play a lot better, and you'll start pushing your KD higher and your win rate higher. I can literally guarantee that. Thank you very much if you did stick through this video. I know it was a bit of a long one. I do appreciate the continued support of the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.